Christmas is meant to feel warm and familiar, but every year, a few people discover the same unsettling truth. Something out there moves closer during the holidays, drawn to the lights. Tonight, you'll all hear 3 Christmas stories told in the first person by the people who lived through them. No exaggerated monsters, no fantasy, just real events that shattered the idea of a peaceful holiday and left scars no one talks about. After each story, Morrigan will step in with her own thoughts, the kind that make you question what really hides behind the joy of the season. Let's begin. I used to love Christmas Eve more than Christmas Day. The quiet of it, the way the world seemed to pause. Last year, I spent it alone for the first time. My parents were visiting my sister in another state, and my work schedule didn't let me travel. I told myself it would be fine, just a quiet night, some movies, maybe a drink or two. Around 10 p.m., the snow started falling harder. I stepped onto my porch to smoke, watching the flakes blur the streetlights. That's when I noticed the figure at the end of the road. A man in a long red coat standing perfectly still on the sidewalk across from my house. At first, I thought it was someone walking home from a party, but he didn't move. He faced my house directly, head lowered slightly, like he was examining something. I went back inside, locked the door out of habit, and tried to ignore it. But the feeling wouldn't go away. The sense that he wasn't just a random stranger passing through. When I checked again 10 minutes later, he was closer. Halfway down the block, standing the same way, facing my house, not moving. I don't scare easily, but something about him felt wrong. Not threatening, just out of place, like a statue left in the wrong yard. His coat wasn't a Santa outfit. It was darker, almost burgundy, with a strange texture. Thick, too heavy for someone just out for a walk. I closed the curtains. My hands shook. I can't explain why, but I knew he was looking at me. I tried focusing on a movie, but every few minutes, I felt compelled to check. When I finally peeked outside again, he was at the foot of my driveway, not walking, just there, head slightly bowed, facing me. I froze, gripping the curtain. He wasn't wearing a hat. Snow coated his hair and shoulders, melting slowly down his coat. But he didn't react to the cold at all. I dialed 911. The dispatcher sounded calm and bored, like she'd already decided it was nothing. "There's someone outside my house," I said. "He's been standing there at least 20 minutes. He won't move." "Is he trying to enter your property?" "No." "Has he threatened you?" "No, but then keep your doors locked. An officer will patrol the area when available." That, when available, felt like a joke. I went upstairs to watch from my bedroom window instead. From there, I had a better angle of the driveway. Except, he wasn't there anymore. I scanned the street. Nothing. Then I heard footsteps. Slow, deliberate, crunching in the snow right below my window. I dropped to the floor instinctively. I don't know why. Maybe I didn't want him to see me. The footsteps stopped directly under me. For a long time, nothing happened. Silence. No breathing, no movement. Just the faint hum of the house. Then my phone buzzed. A text. Unknown number. "Come outside." I stopped breathing. Another text. "I've been trying to see you." My chest tightened. I crawled to the window and forced myself to look. He was there, standing in my front yard. His head tilted upward, not toward the window, but the roof, like he was listening for my exact position. I backed away and locked myself in the bathroom. I don't know how long I sat there, shaking, whispering to myself that the police would come. But eventually, through the silence of the house, I heard something new. A sound of footsteps, walking away. Slow at first, then fading, swallowed by the snow. When the police finally arrived almost an hour later, they found nothing. No footprints except mine near the porch. No marks in the yard. Nothing indicating anyone had been there. The officer asked if I'd been drinking, if I'd been stressed, if maybe I'd nodded off and dreamed it. No, but I know what I saw. And 2 days later, on December 27th, I got another text. See you next year? I'm getting worried about Christmas coming because I don't want to see him again. What do you think? I don't really know what I'm going to do. Thanks for listening. Some people think fear comes from what the night hides, but it's usually the opposite. The real danger is what steps forward when everything else goes quiet, when the world slows down enough for certain things to notice you. And he noticed you long before Christmas Eve. If he said next year, I don't think he was making a threat. I think he was making a promise. Comment what you think. What would your reaction be? Don't forget to leave a like. Let's continue. I used to decorate my house like crazy every December. Not because I loved Christmas that much, but because the lights kept me company. I lived alone in a quiet neighborhood, too quiet sometimes, and the glow from the porch made the place feel less empty. Last year, I bought a new set of lights. Warm white, commercial grade, the kind that stay bright even in bad weather. I wrapped them around the porch railing and plugged them in. They looked perfect, soft, steady, calming. But the first strange thing happened the next night. I came home from work and noticed one bulb blinking. These lights weren't supposed to blink. They didn't even have a blinking mode. I assumed it was a loose connection and tightened it, but the blinking kept happening one flicker every few seconds, rhythmic, almost intentional. Over the next few days, more bulbs began blinking, not randomly, but in a pattern. A pulse, a slow-on, slow-off heartbeat. I tried filming it to show a coworker, but whenever I pressed record, the pattern stopped. On video, the lights looked completely normal, steady, perfect, still. One night, while I was outside examining them again, a neighbor walked by. Looks good this year? He said casually. You don't see them blinking? I asked. He paused, squinted, and shook his head. They're solid white, man. You okay? That's when I realized the truth. Only I was seeing it. I should have taken them down. I know that now. But I didn't want to look paranoid. And the blinking didn't feel threatening, just strange. Familiar in a way I couldn't explain. Then, on December 20th, the pattern changed. It wasn't a pulse anymore. It was a sequence. On, off, long pause. Repeated over and over. I don't know why, but it reminded me of someone tapping their nails on a table to get your attention. That night, I Googled Morse code, half as a joke, and the sequence matched one thing. Over and over, as if the lights were introducing themselves. I unplugged the whole string and tossed them in the garage. Done, I muttered, convincing myself the problem was solved. But the next morning, when I stepped onto the porch, the lights were plugged back in. And they were on again, blinking. I don't mean someone had plugged them in. I mean the plug was exactly where I'd left it, inside the garage, untouched. Yet the lights were glowing, and blinking, and waiting. I didn't go to work that day. I stayed home with the curtains closed, but the pulsing glow seeped in around the edges. A slow rhythm that felt almost like breathing. By evening, I worked up the courage to look directly at them again. And that's when I realized something had changed. The bulbs weren't just blinking. They were moving. The light was shifting across the string, bulb by bulb, like something was crawling through the wires. Slowly, deliberately, weaving its way toward the front door. I grabbed scissors and cut the string. The porch went dark. For a second, I felt relieved. But the bulbs, they were still glowing. Each one flickered faintly. No power source at all, like embers refusing to go out. Then the blinking started again. Faster now, urgent. I stepped back into the house, and slammed the door. I didn't sleep. Every few minutes, I'd look through the peephole, and each time, the lights were closer creeping across the porch floor in small increments, like they were learning how to move. Around 3 a.m., they reached the door. The bulbs pressed against the wood. Their glow leaked through the cracks like they were trying to find me. I called the police. Again, they found nothing. Not a single bulb. No wires. Just an empty porch and boot prints from the officers. But later that morning, as I was getting ready for work, I noticed something in the corner of my bedroom. One tiny warm white bulb, blinking. A patient rhythmic pulse. A heartbeat. I moved out 2 weeks later. But sometimes around Christmas, when I turn off the lights to sleep, I see a faint white flicker at the corner of the room, and it's always blinking the same way. Slow, steady, searching. People forget that light can be just as unsettling as darkness. Darkness hides things, but light can invite them. If it followed you once, it learned your patterns, your home, your habits, your fears. Anything that learns you that well doesn't simply disappear. It waits for the season when you're most likely to turn the lights back on. What do you think? I confess the story is strange, but I can't doubt it, because some things always surprise us. Imagine if the Warrens were the first to tell about Annabelle. Can you imagine that? They must have been called crazy and liars for a long time. Comment what you think about this, and let's continue. I don't usually open my mail on Christmas morning. I'm one of those people who drags the holiday out, saving the small things for later. But last year, when I stepped outside to get the newspaper, there was a box sitting on my welcome mat. No label. No return address. Just a plain cardboard box wrapped with a thin red ribbon. I assumed it was from my sister. She's always sending late gifts. I brought it inside, set it on the kitchen table, and didn't think about it again until late afternoon, after dinner, when the house was quiet and I finally had the energy to deal with presents. The box was light. Too light. When I picked it up, something slid inside, as if the contents were shifting on their own. I remember hesitating before opening it, annoyed at myself for feeling nervous over cardboard. I untied the ribbon, pulled back the tape, and opened the lid. Inside was a small snow globe. At first, I thought it was broken, because the snow was dark more like ash than flakes. Inside the glass was a tiny house, shaped almost exactly like mine. Same porch, same 2 front windows, same slanted roof. And standing in front of the miniature house was a figure, a person, head lowered, face hidden, arms hanging at their sides. No note, no explanation, nothing. I shook the globe lightly. A dark flake swirled around the little house, around the figure, drifting down like burnt paper. I should have thrown it out right then, but something about the craftsmanship kept me staring. The detail was uncanny. Even the dent in my porch railing, the one from when my neighbor backed into it years ago, was there. I placed it on the mantel and tried to ignore the feeling that my stomach wouldn't unclench. Around midnight, I woke up to the sound of glass rattling. At first, I thought it was just the house settling or the heater turning on, but the sound didn't stop. It was rhythmic, someone tapping, softly, repeatedly. I followed the sound into the living room. The snow globe was shaking on its own. I stood there, frozen, watching as the dark flakes spun violently inside. The figure inside wasn't in the same place anymore. It was closer to the glass, pressed against it, its head tilted upward like it was looking directly at me. I stepped back, heart pounding. Then the rattling stopped. The ash inside settled. I convinced myself it was vibration from the heater. A draft. Something normal. I went back to bed, but I didn't sleep. Every few minutes, I thought I heard footsteps downstairs. Soft ones, slow ones. I kept telling myself it was the house expanding in the cold. It had to be. At around 2 a.m., my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Just a photo. It was dark and grainy, but I recognized it instantly. My living room, taken from just behind the couch. And in the photo, I could see the mantle, the snow globe, and the figure inside it. Only the figure wasn't inside it anymore. It was on the mantle beside the globe. Small, dark, head still lowered. I dropped my phone. I didn't move for a full minute. Every instinct screamed not to go downstairs, but I also couldn't just sit there waiting. I grabbed the nearest thing I could use as a weapon, a metal flashlight, and walked slowly toward the living room. Each step felt like it took an hour. The room was empty, completely empty. The snow globe sat exactly where I left it. I checked behind the couch, under the table, every corner. Nothing, no footprints, no signs of entry. No tiny figure climbing around my house. Eventually, after convincing myself I dreamed the text, I forced myself back to bed. But at sunrise, I heard something shatter. I ran into the living room and found the snow globe on the floor, broken clean down the middle. The tiny house was cracked open. The ash was spread across the floor like spilled soil. But the tiny figure was gone. Not rolled under the furniture. Not lost in the mess. Gone. And sitting on the mantel where the globe had been was a small red ribbon. The same ribbon that had wrapped the box. I moved out 3 days later. I didn't tell anyone the real reason why. Even now, I don't know what was in that globe. I don't know how it moved. I don't know how it got out. But sometimes, when the house creaks or the wind shifts, I swear I hear something small walking across the floorboards. Like it's still here, still looking for a way back inside. Do you have any theories about this? Does anyone know what it could be? I am not going to the Christmas decorations section anymore for fear of finding another globe just like it. Anyway, that's it. Some gifts are invitations. Some are warnings. And some are doorways, small, delicate ones that don't need to be opened from your side. Whatever slipped into your house didn't break out of the snow globe. It was released. And it won't stop until it finds the place it was meant to reach. Christmas has a way of giving people exactly what they don't want, and exactly what they can't return. You don't need to send me gifts. After all these stories, I don't want anything. Christmas carries this reputation for comfort, warmth, and meaning. But the truth is simpler. When the world slows down, when routines break, and when we let our guard down in the quiet of the season, we make space for things we don't usually notice. A man who watches from the snow, a light that learns your name, a gift that was never meant for you. None of these stories end cleanly because some events don't close themselves. They wait. They return. They follow you into the next year, into the next winter, into the next moment when everything feels safe again. And Morrigan's last reminder for tonight is this. If something tries to reach you during Christmas, it's not because the season is magical. It's because you are, and something out there remembers. If you're still here with me, remember not to go out alone. Click on one of the 2 videos that appear on the end screen. They continue the path you started tonight. Choose one and keep the lights low. Merry Christmas.